I wanted to do, we're going to go back to the bold statement. What's the bold statement? The bold statement is this, is that women will always mature faster when it comes to their peak, like sexual market value potential, than guys do. How do I know that? Because good Father Aristotle said this: women should marry when they are about 18 years of age, and men at 70 and 30. 70 and 30, 7 and 30, 37 years old. What did Brolo say about sexual market value peak? Then they are in the prime of life, and the decline in the powers of both will coincide. Why on earth would a woman's at 18, her powers would be in decline? How could that be true? Way back when old Uncle Aristotle was alive and kicking and in ancient Greece. I hope I'm saying that right. Athenian Greek? Whatever. Whenever good, you know what's funny is I get run up the flagpole by mostly by tradcons, but also by like these, sort of pothead philosophers, right? So, hey, he doesn't read Eckhart Tolle. He doesn't know who St. Thomas Aquinas is. Okay, well, here we are. Okay, here's some wisdom of the ancients. Okay, what's the wisdom of the ancients? It's Aristotle telling you that the best time to get married, or the best time to hook up, or the best time to start a long-term relationship is 18 for girls and 37 for guys. 37, man. And you know that the life expectancy of guys back then was not that long. So even then, I think that even Aristotle understood that women's intrinsic value, women's real agency and really real value. Like, what did he say? What, let me see if I get to. He said, they're in the prime of their life, and the decline in powers of both will coincide, which is interesting because they're both at the peak, right? And they're both kind of like coming down. Now, how cool would it be if you could take those two sexual market value peaks right there, see where the girl's at 23 and guys I put him at 38. Maybe I shouldn't have put it at 38. Well, Aristotle says 37. So we take those two, we mesh those two together, right? Now, what happens is those two declines, those two declinations happen together instead of apart, which is what we do now. So and I will explain to you exactly statistically that this is true. I'll prove this to you empirically here in just a moment. But this is what we look at today, and really we've been looking at this kind of since the sexual revolution, certainly. But I'm gonna show you some statistics that will still prove to you that even in 1965, when men and women were hooking up and they were getting together, there was still that want for the older guy from the younger woman. And it's not to say that, 23-year-old is going to want a guy who's 38. No, that's not what I'm saying. When I point out sexual market value peak, it's not who wants who. It's who has the most of what the other wants at that particular time in their lives. That's the most important operative point of today's lesson, children. Take notes. Sharpen your pencils. I hope your pencils are sharp. I hope you guys are taking notes, because this class is in session today. We're going to look at a lot of graphs today. We're going to look at a lot of empirical data today, because I've done the homework of all the things I have done homework on. This is the topic I've done the most homework on. So when we talk about the difference in sexual market value, what is it that makes men want women, and what is it that makes women want men? Now, the reason why this offends the black pill, incel, looks maxers mentality is because they make the same mistake that the feminists made back when I did this in 2012. They're using exactly the same, in some cases, even verbatim, the same arguments that women were making back then. No woman at 23 is going to want a guy who's 38. I didn't say that. I said that the guy who is 36. Let's just go with Aristotle. Let's go with the wisdom of the ancients here. So at 36, yes, you are correct, Wanda. I'm going to put that up right now. Yes, you are 100% correct. Aristotle was the first red pill coach. I don't think he wasn't selling anything on Gum Road, but he was the first red pill coach. John Fitch. Oh, wait, I got to put this up. And it's time. Can you see that? Devil man. Devil Mountain Coffee. By the way, Devil Mountain Coffee, if you have any kind of sensitivity to caffeine, only have a 1 8-ounce cup. This has like really high caffeine content. Okay, so what are you saying now? Do you know if there is a good ROI in getting an education in the field of evolutionary psychology? Zom, it's like anything else. You can tell you what, you can get a good ROI out of a fine arts degree if you know how to apply that. It just depends. Depends on who you are, what you think you can do with it. Yeah, you could. Depends on what you want to do with it. Exactly. Okay, so getting back to the point here. One of the things that I see when it comes to understanding sexual market value is everybody wants to make it subjective to themselves. They want to say, well, or let's start from the reverse. A lot of guys think that this is a cope. They think that this is like they don't understand how old this graph really is because they don't do the homework. They just see it and they go, oh, he's an old guy. That's why I get the critiques right now. Rollo doesn't know anything. He's 50 years old. Well, I probably, in all likelihood, I published this graph when you were probably in middle school. So let's have a little bit of context here. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the guys who are like the internal critics right now, they were trying to figure things out while they were, playing PS4 back when they were 12 or 13 for the most part. So let's put things into context here. Second of all, this has been around for a long time, and it's not like something I just pulled out of my ass. And a lot of guys will say, well, it doesn't really work that way. Where's your data? Like that was the first thing is, where's your hard data? Well, when I put it out, I even wrote in the thing, I said, this is me, right? This is me spitballing right here. This is what you can look forward to. Well, the funny thing is this graph was very, very accurate according to other data. So I'm going to show you a couple of other things here. I think this was probably this is actually the best one here. Let me see if I can throw this on here for you real quick. I probably should have queued these up. My apologies. It's right here. It's real interesting. All right. Age distribution of actresses and damn, that looks very familiar. Where have I seen this? But and I think I pulled this off of IMDb or something like I can't remember. Oh, it's GNU.com. That's where this came from. Age distribution of actors and actresses. Okay. That looks an awful lot. I mean, maybe not completely, but you can certainly see the difference between this and this. Wow, Rollo, that's awfully curious, but that's correlation. That's not confirmation. That's not causation. Okay. All right. You got me on there. Look, it could be, in fact, pretty much all of this stuff is going to be correlations, but there's an awful lot of correlation. Let's also look at, where's another one? Let me go grab another one for you. Where is this one? Here we go. This is a really good one. Gosh, I should have gone with this one first. All right. There, what's funny is in the new order, we have a lot more data to sort of parse out right now. And I believe this is from Match.com. How a person's desirability changes with time. Once again, wow, that looks kind of similar to those two spikes right there. What is it that makes them desire? Now, this is desirability. Okay. We're talking about a portion of the dating. Okay. So we've talked about this. Like, guys, I think what's funny is there's so many guys who will agree with me when it comes to hypergamy, particularly black men. They love that. Beat me up. Oh, it's hypergamy. I whip my back. They want to self-flagellate over hypergamy. We're never going to score. We're never going to score. I'll just let Beavis or Butthead take it over for me for those. They want to beat themselves up over hypergamy. I'm never gonna score. I'm never gonna get good enough. But then when I throw something like this at them, then it's like, well, that's just you being old. It's a cope. That's you being old in a cope. You want girls who are younger to like you. Yeah. Okay. Where's the lie? Of course. Even Aristotle said 37, get with an 18-year-old. At least he had an adult. At least he was 18, even back then, right? You go and you look at like stories like Romeo and Juliet, and you say, well, these are teenagers, right? And granted, this is Shakespeare. He's writing fiction, right? But he was writing fiction based on the social conventions of the time. So it'd be two teenagers. Like, what was it? Romeo was like, was he supposed to be? I think he was at least 18, right? 17, 18. And Juliet was supposed to be like 14, maybe 15. That's quite the stretch. But remember, people didn't live as long. Now, comparatively speaking, I'm not saying they didn't live good long lives. Some of them got to a ripe old age too. But by and large, I mean, for the compared to what now, we live pretty long lives compared to what they did in the Renaissance or medieval times or back in the day. And so people had to start early. They had to get their accomplishments done much earlier. You look at things, you look at the age of young men who went over to go land on the beaches of Normandy, or you look at the average age of the men who fought in the Civil War. What was it? Robert Gould Shaw, one of my favorite stories in the world. A kid was 23 years old. Colonel Robert Gould Shaw. Okay. At 23 years old. How many colonels do you know that are 23 years old today? Most guys that are 23 years old are like, they're telling you about their favorite OnlyFans girl right there. But you had to do things a lot earlier back then. So yeah, I'm not saying that those peaks and valleys right there, I'm not saying that those are set in stone. I'm just saying, like, as far as the ages are concerned, I'm just saying that those peaks and valleys exist contextually within the time, and also ethnicities, also the social conditions, also socioeconomics. But pretty much that's the same thing. If you go and you look at statistically, women look for guys who are anywhere between 3 and 7 years older than they are. How do I know that? Glad you asked. Let's have another look at some data. Here we go. Let's go and look at, let's just start with this one. This one's so much better. I love this one. This is out of the book Dataclysm. And I know this has been brought up. Dataclysm came out in I think 2014. Another book, and I'm going to buff him out because I love him to death. Black Label Logic. He's got 2 books called Gendernomics. If you want to get into the nuts and bolts and the statistics of this, he does yeoman's work on this stuff. So this, however, is out of Dataclysm. Now, these are averages of what women want from guys at various ages. These are the ones who look best. This is look, okay? Looks best to them versus the age of the man who looks best to her, all right? Okay. A woman's age versus the age of the men who look best to her. Got it? Good. So at 23, we can see here, or excuse me, at 20, we can see that, oh, look, a 3-year difference. Oh, 21, 3-year difference. Oh, look, 22, 2-year difference. 23, 2-year difference. 24, 1-year difference. And we can see, and it goes on and on and on, right? So when a girl gets to a ripe old age of 30, maybe she's looking for the guy who's 30 years old. Does that coincide with what Rollo said about the epiphany phase? Yes, it does. Wow, look at all the rest of these. It seems to me that as women get older, they tend to look at the guy who looks best, okay? We're going to look and see here in a minute what the data says about who they end up pairing up with. So, who looks best? Okay? Well, funny you should say that. Funny that this should be stick so close. Now, of course, when women get up to, what is it, about 47, then they're looking at guys who are a little bit younger than they are because, we look better, whatever. They're still kind of looking back. So things get a little bit younger when they get up to about 50. So 4 years back, whatever, whoever looks the best. But still, to a 50-year-old woman, a 46-year-old guy looks best to her, according to Dataclysm. Now, all of this was like data harvested from Match.com, and I want to say eHarmony, and I want to say some other dating profile places. I'm not really sure where I know that they get it from Match.com, and I know they got it from OkCupid as well, was part of this as well. Now, granted, this was back in 2014. There's another great book, by the way. It's called A Billion Wicked Thoughts by Agvis and Agvai. That came out in the mid 2000s. I always thought that was really a good it was a good starter. We were just starting to parse data. We got at least another 15, 18 years of data since that book came out. So if they've updated it, somebody needs to tell me, because that was a really great book. I wrote a post about that when it first came out. So, all right. So that's that one. Well, let's look at this one here. So that's the ladies. The ladies want somebody, and that's who looks best to them. Okay. Who they end up with, who they're attracted to, who they get after it with, who they end up having children with and starting a relationship with. Usually it's anywhere between 3 to 7 years, somewhere in there. The mean average is about 5. So, and it depends on the age of the girl. Most women aren't getting married. They're not pairing up at 23 years old. Oh, we're going to look more data coming up. Here we go. Let's look at this. Now we're getting somewhere. A man's age versus the age of the women who look best to him. Well, things certainly change here, don't they? Wow, that line seems to make no difference to guys. Okay, so a guy who's 20, he wants to get with somebody who's 20. 21, he wants to get with somebody who's 20. 21, 22, 21. 23, 21. 24, 21. 25, 21. 26, 21. Let's keep going on. Oh, I'm 36. Oh, wait. We gotta go here. The 37-year-olds that Aristotle said men are hitting their peak at that point, or they're hitting their stride right then and there. These guys are a little bit off. Uncle Aristotle might be a little disappointed. In fact, Uncle Aristotle would say you're about 4 years off. You should be going for women who are 18, guys. Well, okay. Well, what is it? Sexual marketplace inflation. Okay, you've got that. Here we go. So 22, 20, 20, 21, 21, 20. Wow, we can go all the way to 50, and a 22-year-old still looks the best of that guy. What could possibly be going on here? Maybe it's because men and women are different. Maybe it's because they actually have things that they find different things that they find attractive or arousing. That's one data set. Let's we can keep going. Why don't we go and look at this? This is a GIF, so I'm gonna have to sort of like walk my way through it a little bit here, just so you guys can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, this one, I forget where I pulled this one from, actually. I just saw this not too long ago. I forget where I pulled this from. I got it from, I think it was Psychology Today. So a by age distribution of people who would date an 18-year-old match. Okay. So this looks very similar to what? To this, right? Wow. Things are, wow, that Rolo, he just doesn't do any homework. It's just all his opinions, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, okay. 18. How about, let's do this. Why don't we go to 19? Oh, how about 20? No, how about 21? Wow. These look amazingly close to a certain graph. Oh, look, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Wow, that almost coincides. Actually, let's go back a little bit. There we go. Wow, damn, that looks very close to the age of actors and such as well. Wow, that's amazing. But correlation is not causation. Okay. I'm good with that. I understand. I'll put these out if you guys want me to send these. Should I put these on? Maybe I'll put them on the blog, or I'll put them on Twitter, so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about here. Okay. So there's that. Shall I continue? I think I shall. What else do we have here? I have so much data over the years. This is where did I pull this one from? Oh, this is a localized. You guys want to see one from localized markets, right? So global sexual market. A lot of this I remember these are pulled from Western culture, but pretty much the peaks and valleys stay the same. So let's. I think I can't remember where I pulled this. I actually have this in an essay, but I put this on here just to show you this is distributions. Okay. Now this is across this is locales. Okay. Different locations. So we can look at age versus location here. And those stay pretty constant. Now, I'm not going to say that this is exactly like the graph that I came up with, but they stay pretty constant. I mean, look at maybe New York's a little bit different, but they stay pretty constant. So when a woman's 20, she's at her peak values, right? That's the peak desirability at those ages, or at that particular age. For men, wow, it seems that men increase in desirability as they get a little bit older. Wow. Curiouser and curiouser. What could that possibly mean? That's a correlation right there. Not a causation. It's a correlation. Oh, let's see. What else do I have for you? Oh, my goodness. Well, we got to go here, too. This is a really good one. Lots and lots of graphs today, guys. Lots and lots of graphs. Shall I continue after this one? That's the real one. Age gap to spouse. This is, I believe I pulled this off of what it was. I can't read that right there. Sorry. I believe it's a family resource of some sorts. Actually, I'm going to look at it. It might be the IFS, which is International Family Studies, I think is what it's called. Spouse is older. So these are the age differences. If the spouse is younger, the spouse is older. And these are the age gaps. So as I was saying, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years, and you can see how it goes up and up and up as the relative risk of dying increases. Okay. So that's something that you're going to have to keep in mind too, because this also explains why men want to remarry more often than women do. Because women understand, I think on some level of consciousness, women realize that once they get past the wall, like the stereotypical wall, that the odds of finding another guy and getting remarried is pretty slim. And usually, especially now in Western cultures, they don't have to, right? They have death benefits, assuming they are widows. If they're divorced, they're probably getting alimony. They're probably getting divorce benefits of some sorts, like child support or whatever. They are well compensated, let's say, in Western societies right now. So women have a much lower incidence of remarriage than men do. Now, men, for whatever, because as I've said before, most men are beta males, and most men don't learn their lessons. They'll remarry once, twice, 3 times. You mean, you look at Jeff Bezos. Do you think Jeff Bezos will marry Dirty Sanchez? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But once again, old Uncle Aristotle says 37 and 18. Now, far be it from me to go against the wisdom of the ancients, but let's look at one more graph here. This is a good one too. I'm going to tell you guys will say, "Wow, Rollo, he's all about marriage. He talks about marriage too much, or he's advocating, he's marching men to the slaughterhouse." Well, allow me to opine. Check this one out. This is a really good one. When not to get married. Age of first marriage and divorce risk as of 2006 to 2010. I have some other data that's a little bit more fresh than this. But again, the graphs don't change all that much. So they're saying, well, 25 is the best time to get married, right? Because the earlier you get married, the higher the incidence of divorce is. The higher the chance of you getting divorced. The higher the chance of it not working out for you. Now, I think, I speculate that there are myriad reasons why this happens. But most of all, it's a dynamic from on the part of women that I've called making up for missing out. So remember that when I showed you, I don't know if you guys remember this. This is the graph from, actually, let me pull this down real quick. There we go. This is the graph from my book, the second book that I have called Preventive Medicine. And today, I think that's the book we need to focus on more than anything. In fact, I put if you want to buy the book, if you want to go check it out on Kindle, or if you want to get it on just a print version of it, if you don't have it, you'll find this timeline. You'll find this timeline in that book. And this is what most of that book is based on. Now, if we go and you look at the years from, like, say, 20 till about 27, maybe 26, 27, 28, somewhere in there. That's when the epiphany phase starts. But if you look at the party years, this has been colloquially known as the hoe phase today, children. That's what we see. Like, I think I was on Rule Zero think I even hosted it. There was we did a show called the Ho. Or no, I did it. I did it on here. It's called the Ho phase. And these are the party years. The party years from 20 till about 28. And so when a woman gets to be about 28 years old, she turns into Tommy Lahren, right? That's when, and by order of degrees, maybe, all women are Tommy Lahren actually. But at some point along the way, that woman becomes a little more self-aware. She's forced into an acknowledgement that she's not going to be able to sexually compete in the way that she has been since she was 18. Thank you, Aristotle. And so, because Aristotle knows that that's when women go into the Ho phase. Thank you. Gosh, Aristotle. Yes, you're right. You are 100% correct. Aristotle was the first red pill coach. There you go. Now I want to go and look. I want to go and look up more of Aristotle. So there you have it. Let's see. Did I get to all of these things that I wanted to get to before I have a whole ton of these things? You know what? I'm not going to bore you with anymore. I do want to show you a couple other things here. This was actually, okay. Yeah, I did get that from Family Studies, that last one with divorce at first marriage. Cause I'm looking at that article right now, but there's one more thing I want to show you. And this is it right here. I got to go to a Chrome tab. This is age at first marriage. Now, again, I'm not advocating that you get married. I'm just saying, I just work here, man. Age at first marriage, median age at first marriage in the United States. This is where I got a lot of my data for book 4. And there is a very substantial chapter about marriage and the religious / red pill implications of marriage in the 21st century today. And this was one of the stats that I used. Okay. If you look at age of first marriage for men, the blue line right there, you will see 28.8, almost 30 years old. Like just fractionally away from 30 years old is the average age of first marriage for a guy. Okay. For women, it is 28 years old. Some stats I have is a little bit more than that, some less, but I think that's probably a pretty good one right there. Now let's look down here, children. We have, can you see that? Yeah, you can. Here we go. 1956 and to 59, 22 for men and 20 years old for women. Almost, okay, just maybe a little bit under 3. Now, does that mean, who knows how old, who knows what those guys are marrying? Maybe they're marrying 19-year-olds. Maybe they're marrying 20 years old. Women at 20, 22, about 20 years old. And this is 1956. The stats that I have I actually looked up stats for 1965 as well. Usually it's about the same or pretty close. There's anywhere between a 2 to 3 year difference in those marriages. And remember, yes, things were different back then. I get it. Average age of first marriage. This is in England and Wales. Look at that, man. 31. That's almost 32. And for women, it's 30. Does that seem like a healthy stat for you? I don't think so. Now, these are 1969, 1966. Things are a little bit different. But look at this jump. Well, what on earth could have happened in 1965? Curiouser and curiouser. What could have happened right around 1965? Rollo, you're a reactionary. You don't know what you're talking about. Hormonal birth control did not necessarily cause the sexual revolution. Well, and this coincides with a lot of other data sets too, by the way. I'm sorry to be facetious on all of this. But if you look at the jump in divorce rates, if you look at the decline, or I should say, this is the jump in age of first marriage. If you look at the actual marriage rates from, like, say, 1965 down to where we're at right now, because they are going down. I think, was it 2019 or 2020? It was at the rate of marriage in the United States is at its lowest since they started keeping track of things, like back in the 1890s, apparently. And so there you have it. I wanted to show that one off to you guys as well. But so when I make that very bold statement that says, well, men take longer to mature than women do. So we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of that as to why I came up with this great chart right here. Now, let's look at women really quickly, just briefly. Women, their primary agency, their primary thing that men are interested in when it comes to sexual market value is their looks, their appeal, their sexuality, and their availability. Younger, hotter, tighter. That's what they're looking for. As I said, if you go all the way up to 50, those guys are looking for 20 to 22 to 23. I might be a little off on that. It might even be 21 for the peak years. But I thought, you know what, I better give a little wiggle room in there, so I did that. Now, the important thing to remember in all this is if you look at what I've designated here as the peak span of 15 to 16 years, this right here at the bottom there where it says peak spans 15, 16 years, that is the most important part of this graph. Not, oh, well, men can't be as good looking as they were when they were 26. Yeah, I get it. I understand that. I'm talking peak potential. I'm not talking, oh, well, how come women only want those hot guys with the, Giga Chad chins and stuff like that? Well, yeah, they do, because they're interested in different things in different times when it comes to like arousal. But again, sexual market value peak has a lot more to do with what makes a man, what are the factors that make a man at his most attractive / arousing, and what age does that happen? Okay, what makes a woman sexually attractive? And we can throw marriageable in there. I don't make a designation between marriage market value and sexual market value, and particularly not today because so many guys are so anti-marriage. So what I find fascinating is when I get these black pill guys who are like, well, that's not marriage market value. Who cares, right? Who cares? Because you guys don't want to get married anyways. So let's adjust for that little factor. Funny how that seems to be a priority when you're criticizing me. But when it comes down to things like, I'm going to go and get this girl's opinion on whether I'm hot or I'm not. I'm going to go and get this aged out woman's idea. Well, you tell me if I'm a 10 or an 8 or a 7 or would you get with this guy? Who cares? Who cares if you are, because you don't care about that. You don't care about you don't make women the metric of your sex appeal. You don't care, right? You're MGTOW. You're black pill. Why would that? Why on earth would you reflexively go to a woman and say, well, this woman over here says that you're an 8 and this woman over here says you're a 2. So screw you. Okay. Well, is that not making women the metric of your freaking life right there? Reflexively? Yes, it is. All right, that's neither here nor there. But the most important part of this scale, of this graph, is really the peak span between 15 and 16 years. And that's, like I said, 23 to about 30. I said 38. You could probably back that off, I guess, to 36 or 37. But in between is the comparative SMV, and that's right there right at the kind of crux between men's appeal and women's declination, because nature plays a very cruel game to men and women, particularly in this day and age, particularly in how we have arranged our sexual marketplace, our globalizing sexual marketplace, because we've convinced women that their sexual market peak value years are imperishable, right? We always say this all the time, women are depreciating assets, right? They get to be about 23 or 24 and then they're on that declination. I don't think most guys have a problem with understanding that. Now, can women fight that? Sure. Like I've said before, I did this I mentioned this when I did the episode on the wall. The wall doesn't happen here, if you're watching, ladies, the wall doesn't happen here. The wall happens here. The wall happens when women acknowledge that they've gotten to an age. The wall is coming for Tomi Lahren right now. That's why she's freaking out. That's like, I gotta find a man. I want one that's for me, and I've got to find the right guy has to be here for me. Where is he? He's not in my front door. You owe this to me, God. That is the hubristic woman at the age of the epiphany, like right on the door of the epiphany phase, knowing, because up here, it's not here. I'm comparatively speaking. Like people say, well, she's not all that hot. Well, okay, I realize you're too cool to go bang Tomi Lahren. Oh, but let's be honest. If you take Tomi Lahren just physically and you put her against the average woman who is, what is the average woman is like 5'7" and she weighs 165 pounds or 70 pounds, I think, in the United States. That's the average woman, like almost a beach ball. So you take Tommy Lee and you put her against the average American woman. She's pretty attractive. If you didn't know who she was, you'd probably be like, I'll take her over the beach ball. Thank you. So if you look at that, it's not the physical thing. It's a mental thing. She knows that she's not going to be able to compete with her sisters. She's not going to be able to compete for the guys who she wants to get with and start a long-term relationship and get that long-term security with and start a family and have kids and be, financially stable and emotionally stable, God forbid, with her, but wants to still have that long-term security. And I think that a lot of guys don't realize this because that's part of women's timeline, which is right here. So if you look at the end of the party phase, the party years, the hoe phase, right? And then you look at the epiphany and the transition phase that I've designated right here. I've also got up here in gray where it says the competition anxiety. That's when it kicks in. That competition anxiety is exactly what Tomi Lahren is going through right now. She is dealing with that, and that's where the wall happens. The wall happens between the epiphany phase and probably like the first 2 or 3 years of the security phase. If you get past that security phase, then it's like, oh man, that's when women get bitter. That's when women go, where are the nice guys? What happened to what happened to all the nice guys? Matt Hussey, tell all those guys to love me at 34. Please, Matt Hussey, I'll give you any amount of money if you'll just teach these guys who are 36 years old to love me at 48. No, you're done. You're out. You're aged out. Sorry. The guys who are hitting their stride, the guys who are right at the peak sexual market value years, 36, 37, what did Aristotle say? 37 years old, those guys, they're not interested in you. They're not interested in 36-year-old women. They're not interested in 30. They're barely even interested in 30-year-old women.